The Galactic Council Chamber stretched across 5 kilometers of floating crystal platforms, suspended in a void that was neither space nor atmosphere. 17,000 alien species had sent their representatives here, and today, every single one of them was staring at the small group of humans standing at the center. Ambassador David Cole felt the weight of those stares like a physical force. Beings made of living light, creatures of stone and metal, things that existed in multiple dimensions at once. All of them watching humanity face judgment for the first time in galactic history. High Chancellor Voron rose from his throne of frozen starlight. He was ancient beyond human understanding, his body a shifting mass of dark energy contained in a vaguely humanoid shape. When he spoke, his voice resonated through the bones of everyone present. Humanity has committed a grave offense against the Galactic Accord. You have rejected the sacred matching protocol. David stepped forward. Behind him, his team of 5 diplomats held their ground, though he could feel their fear. They had prepared for this moment for months, but nothing could truly prepare someone for standing before the rulers of the universe. "We have not rejected anything," David said, his voice steady. "We have asked questions." The chamber erupted in whispers. The crystalline Velith delegation flickered with agitation. The massive Grandar, beings of living rock from the galactic core, rumbled their displeasure. "Questions are not asked," Voron declared. "The protocol has maintained peace for 900,000 years. Every species that joins the Council submits to the matching system. It is how alliances are formed. It is how wars are prevented. And it is how individuals lose their freedom to choose their own partners." David pulled out a small device. A holographic display appeared, showing thousands of human faces and names. 4,217 humans have been added to your matching database without their knowledge or consent. Their genetic information was harvested. Their compatibility scores were calculated. And now they are being assigned alien partners they have never met. This is standard procedure, Voron dismissed. For you, not for us. David let that statement hang in the air. Humanity does not trade its people like currency. Voron leaned forward, shadows pooling around him like living things. Then humanity does not join the Council. And species that remain outside the Council do not survive for long. Every human in the chamber understood the threat. Earth had no fleet capable of resisting a Council warship. They had no planetary shields, no weapons that could make a difference. By every measure, humanity was completely defenseless. And yet David smiled. "Before you make your final decision, Chancellor, perhaps you should know something about one particular human on that list." He changed the display. A single face appeared. A man in his late 30s with brown hair and tired eyes, sitting at a desk covered in books and papers. This is Marcus Webb. He teaches history to children in a small city called Portland. He grades papers and drinks coffee and lives a completely ordinary life. Why should we care about one primitive teacher? Voron demanded. "Because your matching system selected him for Princess Elendra of the Selenari Third House." The chamber went absolutely silent. The Selenari were not just another species. They were one of the 3 founding civilizations of the Council itself. Their royal bloodlines were considered sacred across the galaxy. "The highest compatibility score in 3,000 years, David continued. "And Marcus Webb has no idea. He is going to wake up tomorrow and discover that the most powerful beings in the universe have decided his future without asking him." The scene froze on Marcus's face. An ordinary man, completely unaware that everything was about to change, 6,000 light years away. Marcus Webb was grading essays about the Roman Empire and wondering what to have for dinner. He had 3 rules for a happy life. Never grade papers while hungry. Never argue with the school coffee machine. And never take anything about aliens seriously. The first two rules he broke constantly, but the third had served him well for the 5 years since first contact. When the massive ships appeared in Earth's skies, humanity had experienced what experts called collective shock. Then came the treaties, the embassies, the slow process of joining a galactic community that viewed humans as amusing. Primitive. Marcus watched it all from his apartment and felt nothing but mild irritation. Aliens existed. Fine. They had technology beyond imagination. Wonderful. None of it affected his daily routine of teaching 8th graders who thought history was boring. His phone buzzed. A message from his sister, Emma. Did you see the news? The council is threatening Earth over some marriage thing. Marcus typed back without looking up from his papers. Do not care. If aliens are mad about us not joining their dating app from hell, that is their problem. What if your name is on the list? He actually laughed out loud. He was 37 years old, with a receding hairline and an apartment full of books. The idea of advanced aliens specifically selecting him for anything was completely ridiculous. 3 days later, the ships arrived. Marcus was walking to his car after school when every student in the parking lot stopped moving. They stood frozen, phones raised, staring at the sky. He looked up. The vessel was unlike anything he had seen in photographs. This was not a boxy council transport. This ship was beautiful. Its hull seemed to be made of liquid silver, constantly shifting and flowing. Patterns of light moved across its surface in spirals that made his eyes water. A beam of light descended, and a figure materialized in the parking lot. She was humanoid, but clearly not human. Her skin glowed faintly like moonlight given flesh. Her hair moved on its own, flowing around her shoulders in deliberate patterns. Her eyes were completely silver, without pupils, and they were fixed directly on Marcus. 2 armored guards materialized behind her. She walked toward him with grace that made every human movement seem clumsy. As she approached, she produced a device that projected a holographic image, his face. Marcus Webb, she said, and her voice had harmonics that his ears could barely register. I am Elindra, 3rd Princess of the Selenari Empire, daughter of the Quantum Throne. His brain stopped working. Your genetic signature was identified by our sacred algorithm 6 months ago, she continued. According to the ancient protocols, you have been selected as my bonded partner. Students were filming. Teachers had emerged from the building. Sirens approached in the distance. There has been a mistake, Marcus said. His voice came out as a croak. Elindra tilted her head. The algorithms do not make mistakes. Your quantum signature matches mine with 99.7% compatibility, the highest rating in 3,000 years. I am a history teacher. Yes, we found that interesting. I eat cold pizza for breakfast. Something shifted in her expression. Not quite confusion. More like someone encountering a fascinating puzzle. Why would the temperature of your food matter? Before he could answer, black vehicles screeched into the parking lot. Armed personnel poured out bearing the insignia of the Global Contact Authority. A woman in a crisp suit emerged. Princess Alendra, we were not informed of your arrival. Our protocols do not require notification for bonding ceremonies, Alendra responded. The matched individual has been located. The process can proceed. Earth has not agreed to participate in the matching protocol. That dispute is with your governments. This match was recorded before your objection. It is valid under council law. Both women turned to look at Marcus, who stood frozen between them. Mr. Webb, the director said, you are under no obligation to accept this arrangement. Refusal would be unprecedented, Alindra added. In 900,000 years, no one has rejected a Selenari bond. Then I will be the first, Marcus said. The words escaped before he could stop them. Part of his brain screamed about diplomatic disasters and alien fleets, but a larger part the part that had spent 20 years teaching students about human defiance against impossible odds, simply could not accept being told what to do by an algorithm. Elindra's silver eyes widened. For a long moment, nobody spoke. Then slowly, the corners of her luminescent lips curved upward. "Interesting," she said. "Very interesting." She gestured to her guards. "We will establish residence on this planet while the matter is resolved." "Princess, I must insist," the director began. "The Salinari do not leave matched individuals unclaimed. I will remain on Earth until Marcus Webb accepts his destiny, or until he demonstrates a valid reason for rejection." "And if I never accept?" Marcus demanded. Elindra turned those silver eyes back to him, and for a moment, he saw something that might have been genuine curiosity. "Then we will have a great deal of time to get to know each other." The ship above them hummed, beginning its descent. Marcus watched it come down and realized that his ordinary life had just become very, very complicated. The news exploded overnight. Every screen on Earth showed the same headlines. Alien Princess claims human teacher. Salinari ship lands in Oregon. Diplomatic crisis intensifies. Marcus woke to find his apartment surrounded by drones, protesters, supporters, and a shimmering energy shield that the government had erected to keep everyone away from his building. His P. Hone showed 43,000 unread messages. His principal had called to say he was on indefinite leave. His sister had sent one text that simply said, "Told you so." Director Patricia Reyes sat across from him in his small living room. She was the head of Earth's Global Contact Authority, and the exhaustion on her face told Marcus everything he needed to know about how serious this situation had become. "Let me explain where you stand," she said, her tablet displaying complex alien legal codes. Under the Council's matching protocol, a valid match creates what they call quantum entanglement of fate. It is not legally binding by human standards, but to Council species, it is essentially sacred law. So I am supposed to marry an alien princess because their computer said we are compatible? Essentially, yes. Reyes leaned forward. But you need to understand something, Mr. Webb. The Salinari are not just another species. They are one of the 3 founders of the Council. Their civilization watched the first stars form. When they say their algorithms do not make mistakes, they are not exaggerating. Their matching system has successfully predicted compatible partnerships for 900,000 years. Predicted or enforced? Reyes paused. That is an interesting distinction. It is the only distinction that matters. Through his window, Marcus could see the silver ship that had landed in what used to be a public park. Smaller craft came and went from its hull, and beings he could not quite focus on moved around its perimeter. "What happens if I keep refusing?" he asked. "Honestly, we do not know. No one has ever refused a Salinari match. The diplomatic implications are significant. Earth's membership application is pending. The Salinari have enormous influence over the approval process. If they feel insulted, they could block our membership forever." Marcus walked to his window. "So the entire future of humanity in the galaxy depends on whether I agree to marry someone I met yesterday. When you put it that way, it sounds absurd. It is absurd." A knock at his door interrupted them. Reyes tensed, her hand moving toward a device at her hip. But when Marcus opened the door, he found only a small drone hovering in the hallway. It projected a holographic image of Princess Elindra. "Marcus Webb," the projection said. "I am told that human courtship involves interaction before formalization. I propose we meet for what your culture calls coffee. The location and time are your choice." The drone dropped a small card on his doorstep and flew away. Marcus picked it up. It was warm to the touch and displayed only 2 words in flowing script. "Your move." Despite everything, he found himself smiling. 3 hours later, Marcus sat at a corner table in his favorite coffee shop, wondering what had possessed him to agree to this meeting. The shop had been cleared of other customers. Government agents stood at every entrance. Selenari guards had taken positions outside, turning the quiet street into something resembling a military zone. Alindra arrived without escort, wearing clothing that was clearly meant to look human. A simple dress in shades of silver and blue. She sat across from him, her luminescent features drawing nervous glances from the agents. "You came," she said. "You asked." "I demanded, technically. That is how things are done among my people. Among my people, we ask, and we expect the other person to have a choice." Alindra considered this. The algorithms gave you a choice. They identified you as optimal. Optimal for what? For me. The simple words caught Marcus off guard. He had expected arrogance or entitlement, not this quiet admission of something that sounded almost vulnerable. "You did not choose this either," he realized. Her silver eyes flickered. "No. From the moment I was born, my genetic signature was entered into the sacred algorithms. I have spent my entire existence waiting to learn who the universe had selected for me. And you got me. I got you." They sat in silence. Marcus ordered 2 coffees. When they arrived, Alindra lifted her cup and took a careful sip. Her expression shifted through several configurations. "It is not unpleasant," she said finally. "The bitterness has complexity I did not expect. That is the most diplomatic description of coffee I have ever heard. I am trained in diplomacy, and in arranged marriages. Apparently." The words came out sharper than he intended. Alindra set down her cup. "You think I am here to claim you like property. Are you not? I am here because the algorithms said you are my optimal match. Among the Selenari, that is considered a gift. The universe revealing a connection that already exists on a quantum level." She paused. "But I am also here because I have never met a being whose quantum signature resonated so strongly with my own. It is disconcerting." "Disconcerting how?" "When I am near you, I feel more aware than I have ever felt. As though reality itself has become sharper." Marcus wanted to dismiss this as alien mysticism, but he could not deny that something strange had happened when she entered the shop. Colors seemed more vivid. Sounds seemed clearer. "I do not believe in destiny," he said quietly. "What do you believe in?" "Choice, free will, the idea that we make our own futures." Alindra nodded slowly. "Among my people, those concepts are considered primitive. The universe has a shape. Fighting against it is like fighting gravity. Humans are pretty good at fighting gravity. We built airplanes." For the first time, Alindra laughed. It was a strange sound, musical and layered, but completely genuine. "You are not what I expected," she admitted. "What did you expect?" "Someone honored by the privilege. Someone who would accept without question. Sorry to disappoint." "You have not disappointed me. You have intrigued me. That is far more valuable." The moment was interrupted by a commotion outside. Through the window, Marcus saw additional vehicles arriving with the insignia of the Galactic Council itself. Erecta Reyes burst through the door, her face pale. "We have a problem." "What kind of problem?" "High Chancellor Voron has arrived in Earth orbit. He is demanding an audience with both of you immediately." Reyes looked between them. "Apparently your coffee date has caused a diplomatic incident." 2 hours later, Marcus stood in a space that existed in no physical location. It was a quantum-generated chamber used for galactic negotiations. Representatives of a dozen species occupied floating platforms around him, their forms ranging from humanoid to utterly alien. High Chancellor Voron materialized at the center, his dark energy form absorbing the light around him. "Marcus Webb of Earth," he intoned. "You have been summoned to answer for your defiance of the matching protocol." Fear gripped Marcus. True, primal fear. But something else rose alongside it. The same stubbornness that had made him teach ancient history in an age of galactic wonders. "I have defied nothing," he said. "I have only asked to make my own choice. Choice is irrelevant when the algorithms have spoken. Choice is never irrelevant. It is what makes us who we are." Voran leaned forward. "And who are you, Marcus Webb? A teacher of dead civilizations? A member of a species that learned fire moments ago by galactic standards? You presume to question systems that have maintained peace longer than your sun has existed? I presume to question anything that treats people as commodities. The protocol has saved countless lives. It has prevented wars. It has united species by taking away their freedom." The chamber fell silent. On her platform, Elindra watched Marcus with an unreadable expression. Various alien representatives shifted uncomfortably. "Freedom," Voran repeated with contempt. "Such a human concept." "Yes, and I am not ashamed of that." Marcus stepped forward, addressing the entire assembly. "Humanity has only known about your council for 5 years. You have treated us as children playing at civilization. But let me tell you something about human history. We have been making our own choices for hundreds of thousands of years. We have built empires and destroyed them. We have made terrible mistakes and learned from them. We have fought and died for the right to determine our own futures." His voice grew stronger. "You say your protocols maintain peace. But peace bought with forced marriages is not peace. It is control. And the humans I know would rather face destruction than surrender control over their own lives." Voran's form blazed with anger. "You speak of destruction as though it is hypothetical. I know it is not. But I also know that every civilization here has something in common. At some point, you had to fight for the right to be who you are." He paused, letting the words sink in. "That is what makes a civilization worth preserving. Not algorithms. The courage to choose your own path." In the silence that followed, Princess Elindra spoke. "The human is correct." Every being in the chamber turned to her. The matching protocol was created to prevent conflict. But it has become a system of control that removes choice from individuals who should have the right to choose their own partners. She descended from her platform to stand beside Marcus. "This human has shown me that questions are not weakness. They are strength." "Princess," Voran warned, "you are on dangerous ground." "I am on necessary ground. I am the third princess of the Selenari Empire. My voice carries weight. And I say that the matching protocol, as currently practiced, violates the principles this council was founded upon. You would throw away 900,000 years of tradition for one human? I would throw away any tradition that treats beings as property." She looked at Marcus. "Whether or not he accepts our bond is his choice. It should have always been his choice." The chamber erupted in chaos. Delegates shouted. Holographic displays flickered with urgent communications. But Marcus barely noticed. He was looking at Elindra, seeing her for the first time. Not as an alien princess come to claim him, but as a person who had just risked everything for something she believed in. "This is not over," Voran declared above the noise. "Earth's membership, the Selenari succession, the validity of the protocol itself, all of it now hangs in balance." His dark eyes fixed on Marcus. "You wanted to make a choice, human. Now you will live with the consequences." The chamber dissolved. Reality snapped back to reveal his small apartment, and the silver ship still visible through his window. Elindra stood beside him, her glow dimmer than before, exhausted. "Thank you," he said quietly. "You did not have to do that." "Yes," she replied. "I did. You were right about everything. So what happens now?" She looked out at the ship, at a world that had suddenly become much more complicated. "Now," she said, We find out if we can build our own future. 2 weeks had passed since the confrontation with High Chancellor Voron, and the galaxy had not stopped spinning toward chaos. Marcus learned this while eating breakfast. Cold pizza, naturally. News feeds displayed increasingly alarming developments. The Selenari Emperor had issued a statement, neither supporting nor condemning his daughter. Earth's membership application had been suspended, and 3 other species had begun questioning the matching protocol publicly, citing Elindra's testimony as inspiration. Elindra herself had become a regular presence in his life. Her ship remained in the converted park, and she visited him daily under the excuse of cultural exchange. Today she sat on his couch, studying his bookshelf with the intensity of someone analyzing enemy positions. "Your collection is eclectic," she observed. "Military history, philosophy, children's literature, romance novels. Those belong to my sister. They have your name written inside them. She writes my name in things. It is a whole situation." Elindra's lips curved slightly. In the weeks since her arrival, she had become more comfortable with human expressions, though her version of a smile still held something otherworldly. "I am not judging. The Selenari have extensive romantic literature. We simply do not admit to reading it." Before Marcus could respond, his door burst open. Director Reyes rushed in, her usual composure completely gone. "We have a situation. A major one." She activated her tablet, projecting a holographic display that made Marcus's blood freeze. It showed Earth, but not the Earth he knew. This Earth was burning. Cities lay in ruins. The sky was darkened by massive vessels bearing an insignia he did not recognize. "This is a simulation," Reyes explained, "created by our intelligence division based on intercepted communications. It shows what will happen to Earth if the Hardliners and the Galactic Council get their way." Hardliners? A faction that believes humanity's refusal to accept the protocol represents an existential threat to galactic order. They are calling for preemptive action. Elindra had gone very still. "This faction. Do you know who leads it?" "We have suspicions. It appears connected to elements within the Selenari military structure. Commander Draven." Elindra's voice was barely a whisper. "My father's war advisor. You know him?" "I know he has spent centuries advocating for what he calls traditional values. He believes the Council has grown soft, that younger species like humanity represent corruption of galactic order." Her silver eyes darkened. "He also believes royal bonding should be controlled by military necessity, not algorithms." The implications were heavy. "He is using me," Marcus realized. "My refusal. A diplomatic crisis. It is all being manipulated to justify military action against Earth. And to discredit the algorithms themselves," Elindra added. "If he can prove the sacred matching system produced an unacceptable result, a human who defies the protocol, he can argue for replacing it with direct military control of all bonding arrangements." "Two birds, one stone," Reyes muttered. "Destroy humanity's chance at membership and consolidate power within the Selenari Empire." Marcus moved to the window. Outside, the silver ship gleamed in the afternoon light. "What do we do?" "I have an idea," Elindra said slowly, "but you are not going to like it." 3 days later, Marcus found himself in the most terrifying situation of his life. Worse than facing the High Chancellor. Worse than discovering his name on an alien marriage registry. He was meeting his potential in-laws. The Selenari royal vessel had arrived in Earth orbit, carrying Emperor Theron and Empress Liana. The meeting was aboard their ship, in chambers designed to make lesser beings feel appropriately small. Elindra had coached him on protocol. "My father values directness. My mother values insight. Do not bow too deeply. Do not make eye contact for more than 3 seconds. And do not mention the romance novels. I was not planning to. She knows about them." I may have said something. She found it charming. Marcus was fairly certain he was about to die. The royal chambers were vast. Their walls displayed constantly shifting images of Selenari history. Emperor Theron sat upon a throne of crystallized starlight, his presence radiating authority that made the High Chancellor seem like a minor official. Beside him, Empress Liana watched with silver eyes, painfully familiar. "So," the Emperor said, his voice resonating through dimensions, "you are the human who has set the galaxy on fire. In my defense, Your Majesty, I just wanted to grade papers." Terrible silence. Then, impossibly, the Emperor laughed. "He has wit," Theron observed to his wife. "You did not mention wit." "I mentioned stubbornness," Liana replied. "They often accompany each other." Some tension left Marcus's shoulders. "Not all, but enough to breathe." "Your daughter explained the situation," he said carefully. "About Commander Draven." "About his plans?" Theron's expression darkened. "Draven has been a problem for centuries. He represents the old ways, the belief that strength alone should govern the cosmos." The Emperor leaned forward. "Tell me, Marcus Webb, why did you refuse the bond?" It was the question Marcus had been asking himself for weeks. Now, facing the ruler of one of the most powerful civilizations in existence, he found the answer easily. "Because I believe the most important relationships are ones we choose, not ones chosen for us. That does not mean the algorithms were wrong about us. Maybe we are compatible. Maybe there is something in our quantum signatures that makes us fit together. But I needed to discover that myself. I needed to choose her. And have you?" Liana asked. "Chosen her?" The question caught him off guard. Had he? Over the past weeks, Elindra had become a constant presence, challenging him, surprising him, teaching him about a universe stranger and more wonderful than he had imagined. She had laughed at his jokes, questioned his assumptions, stood beside him when the powers of the galaxy demanded his submission. "I am choosing to find out," he said finally. "I think that is what matters." The Emperor and Empress exchanged a look containing centuries of understanding. Then Theron nodded. "Draven makes his move in 3 days. He plans to present evidence to the Council that the matching algorithms have been compromised, that your match with Alendra proves a systemic failure requiring his correction. If he succeeds, he gains control of all Selenari bonding arrangements and justification for military action against Earth. And if we stop him, then perhaps humanity proves itself worthy of respect." Theron stood, his presence growing more imposing. "But be warned. The path ahead is dangerous. Draven has allies everywhere. He will not surrender his ambitions easily. I am a history teacher. I have studied how empires fall. It usually starts with someone willing to stand up and say no. Then say it loudly. The universe is listening." The plan was simple in concept, terrifying in execution. Elindra had discovered that Draven planned to present falsified data to the Council, doctored algorithm results that would prove the matching system had been corrupted by human influence. What he did not know was that the original algorithm results still existed, stored in a quantum archive only royal family members could access. The catch was that the archive was located in the most heavily guarded facility in the Selenari Empire, and Draven had filled it with his loyalists. So we break into an impenetrable fortress, steal data from an archive protected by technology beyond human comprehension, and escape without being caught, Marcus summarized. Did I miss anything? The fortress exists in a pocket dimension, requiring royal blood to enter, Elindra added helpfully. Of course it does. They were not alone. Director Reyes had assigned a team of humanity's best operatives, soldiers, hackers, diplomats who had trained for years, hoping to be useful in galactic affairs. Alongside them were Selenari loyal to the royal family. Warriors sworn to protect the Empire from internal threats like Draven, and there was one more ally. Captain Norin, Alindra's personal guard since birth. His luminescent features showed what Marcus had learned to recognize as Selenari determination. "I have infiltrated Draven's communications," Norin reported. "He believes the royal family suspects nothing. His guard will be minimal at the archive. He cannot risk drawing attention. When do we move?" "Tomorrow night, during the council's preliminary session." Alindra's Sylve. Our eyes met his. "Are you certain you want to do this? You could remain here, safe. No one would blame you." "I would blame me." Marcus had discovered something in these weeks, a capacity for courage he had not known he possessed. Besides, someone has to keep you from being too serious. Alindra's lips curved. "I have no idea what you mean." "You reorganized my bookshelf alphabetically by subject. It was chaos. It was organized by when I read them. That is not a system. That is entropy." Captain Norn cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should focus on the mission." They spent hours going over details. Entry points, guard rotations, escape routes, what to do if everything went wrong. That night, unable to sleep, Marcus found himself on the observation deck of the Selenari ship, watching Earth turn slowly below. Alindra found him there. "You are afraid," she said. Not a question. Terrified, but not of dying. "I am afraid of failing, of watching everything fall apart because I could not figure out how to make a difference." "You have already made a difference. You made me question everything I was taught to accept. You made my parents reconsider traditions upheld for millennia. You made the entire galaxy pay attention to a concept they dismissed as primitive. Choice. Choice." She came to stand beside him. "Marcus, whatever happens tomorrow, I want you to know I do not regret any of this. The algorithms may have identified our compatibility, but what we have built in these weeks was choice. Our choice." He looked at her. Alien, impossibly alien. From a civilization so old it had watched stars die. And yet she had become the most important person in his life. "I choose you," he said. "Whatever that means, whatever comes next, I choose you." Alindra's silver eyes shimmered. "Then we face tomorrow together." They stood in silence, watching Earth spin beneath them. Two improbable partners on the edge of an even more improbable future. The archive waited. Draven waited. And the fate of two civilizations hung in the balance. The pocket dimension containing the Selenari archive existed outside normal space. It was accessible only through gateways that responded to royal blood. As Marcus watched Alindra press her hand against the shimmering portal, he thought about how far he had come from grading essays about ancient Rome. The gateway opened, revealing a corridor of impossible geometry. Walls curved in directions that should not exist. Floors seemed to fall upward. Marcus's human brain tried to process what it was seeing and failed completely. "Stay close," Alindra whispered. "The dimension responds to intention. If you lose focus, you could end up anywhere. Define anywhere. Anywhere in the dimensional matrix. It extends approximately 12 light years in every direction. So stay focused." "Got it." Their team moved in tight formation. Captain Norn led the advance, his armor shifting colors to blend with the surroundings. Behind them, Director Reyes and her operatives swept for threats. Their human technology seeming almost primitive in this environment, the archive materialized gradually, resolving from the dimensional chaos like a photograph developing. It was a structure that defied description. Part building, part organism, part mathematical equation given physical form. "The data we need is in the central repository," Alindra explained. "Draven will have guards posted, but they should not expect us. should not, or will not. In my experience, those are often the same thing. They encountered the first guards at the archive entrance. Selenari soldiers in combat armor that made them look like weaponized art. Noron neutralized them before they could raise an alarm. His movements were too fast for Marcus's eyes to follow. Inside, the archive was even more disorienting. Data did not exist in physical storage here. It floated as luminous threads in the air. Each thread contained information that would take human computers centuries to process. The algorithm records are this way, Alindra said, navigating the impossible space with the ease of someone. Raised in dimensional palaces. They found the repository unguarded. Marcus's instincts screamed immediately. This feels wrong. Agreed, Reyes said, weapon raised. Too easy. Because it is a trap, announced a voice from everywhere at once. The air solidified around them, becoming walls of force that separated each team member into individual cells. Marcus found himself alone, unable to move, watching through shimmering barriers as Commander Draven materialized at the repository's center. Draven was ancient even by Selenari standards. His luminescent form carried patterns that spoke of battles fought before Earth's sun existed. His eyes burned with cold fury as they fixed on Alindra. Princess, I hoped you would come. It saves me the trouble of hunting you, Commander. Alindra's voice remained steady despite her imprisonment. I should have known you would expect this. I have expected everything. Draven waved a hand, and holographic displays appeared around them. They showed the Galactic Council chamber, where the preliminary session was underway. In 3 hours, I will present evidence of the algorithm's corruption. The Council will vote to suspend the matching protocol, and humanity's champion will be executed for crimes against galactic order. What crimes? Marcus demanded. The crimes I am about to fabricate. Draven smiled. It was a terrible expression on a face never designed for human emotion. Conspiracy to corrupt the sacred algorithms. Manipulation of a Selenari royal. Attempted subversion of council authority. The evidence will be overwhelming. No one will believe it. Everyone will believe it. Because I will make them believe it. Draven began pacing. You see, Marcus Webb, you have given me exactly what I needed. A human arrogant enough to reject Selenari tradition. A princess foolish enough to support him. And a crisis severe enough to justify any response. You are using us. You are always using us. From the moment my name appeared on that list. Your name appeared because I placed it there. Draven's smile widened. The algorithms can be influenced by those who understand their patterns. I ensured you would be matched with Alindra, a human guaranteed to reject our customs, creating a diplomatic incident that would justify my reforms. The revelation struck Marcus like a physical blow. His entire relationship with Alindra, their meetings, their growing connection. Everything had been orchestrated by this monster. He looked at Alindra, expecting betrayal in her silver eyes. Instead, he saw something else. Defiance. You made one mistake, she said quietly. Draven paused. Impossible. You assumed manipulation would produce the results you intended. But the algorithms you influenced still identified genuine compatibility. Alindra's voice grew stronger. Whatever you did to place his name on the list, the match itself was real. The resonance between our quantum signatures is real. What we have built together is real. Sentiment. It changes nothing. It changes everything. Alindra raised her hand, and the force fields began to flicker. Real connections cannot be contained by artificial barriers. That is what makes them powerful. Draven's eyes widened. What are you doing? What the third princess does best. Light began emanating from Alindra's form. Not the soft glow Marcus knew, but something brighter, fiercer, exceeding expectations. The force field shattered. What followed was unlike anything Marcus had ever witnessed. Selenari combat operated on levels his brain could barely perceive. Manipulations of space, time, and probability made conventional physics seem simple. Alendra moved through the chaos like a dancer. Her attacks and defenses flowed into each other with impossible grace. Captain Norin and the Royal Guards engaged Draven's soldiers. Their forms blurred as they fought at speeds, leaving afterimages in the dimensional air dot, and Marcus realized he was completely useless. He was a history teacher. He could explain the tactics of Caesar or Alexander, but he had no idea how to fight beings who bent reality with a thought. He dove behind cover as energy weapons blazed overhead. Helpless, frustrated, terrified. Then he saw a dot in the chaos. Draven had retreated toward the repository's core, the source of the algorithm data they had come to retrieve. His soldiers were holding off the rescue team, buying him time to destroy the evidence dot. No one was watching Marcus, because who would watch the useless human? He moved before he could stop himself, scrambling through dimensional space toward the core. Draven was there, manipulating controls that glowed with ancient power. "You have no idea what you are doing," Marcus said. Draven whirled. Surprise flashed across his features before being replaced by contempt. "The human. I forgot about you. People tend to. Your kind is remarkable in its insignificance." Draven returned to his work. "In moments, these records will be erased. No evidence of my manipulation. And you will die knowing your rebellion achieved nothing." Marcus stepped closer. "Can I ask you something?" The question was so unexpected that Draven actually paused. "What?" "In 900,000 years of Selenari history, how many times has a species you dismissed as primitive actually surprised you?" "Your kind surprises no one." "Really?" 5 years ago, you did not know we existed. 4 weeks ago, you did not know my name. And right now," Marcus smiled, "you do not know I have been recording this entire conversation." He pulled out his phone, his simple human phone. On its screen, Draven's confession played back in perfect clarity. "That device cannot function in this dimension," Draven said. "Our technology ensures that. Your technology ensures your devices do not work here. Mine is not connected to your network." "K," Marcus kept smiling. "One of the first things humans learn about technology, Commander. Always have an offline backup." For a moment, Draven's composure cracked. Then his expression hardened. "It does not matter. One recording from one primitive will not outweigh centuries of my service." "Maybe not. But what about a live broadcast?" Director Reyes's voice came from behind him. "The connection is established, Mr. Webb. Every major network in the Council is receiving this transmission right now." Draven turned to find Reyes flanked by her operatives. Their devices created a quantum relay punching through dimensional barriers. On holographic displays around them, the Council's preliminary session had descended into chaos as delegates watched. Draven's confession play across every screen. "You," Draven breathed, staring at Marcus. "You planned this. I am a history teacher. I have studied how empires fall. It is usually not armies or weapons. It is someone willing to tell the truth when everyone else is lying." Draven lunged. Not at Marcus. At the phone. His ancient form moved faster than anything Marcus had ever seen. Alendra intercepted him. The collision of their powers sent shockwaves through dimensional space. Reality itself bent around them. Alendra held Draven at bay, her strength amplified by something Marcus could feel. A resonance between them making her stronger, faster, more. "You cannot defeat me," Draven growled. "I have lived for eons. You are a child. I am the third princess of the Selenari Empire." Alendra's voice rang with authority dormant until this moment. And I have something you never possessed, Commander. What? Someone worth fighting for. With a cry resonating through dimensions, Alindra unleashed power she had kept hidden her entire life. The blast caught Draven full force, sending him crashing through the archive's walls into the dimensional void beyond. Then the world went white. Marcus woke in a bed that was definitely not his own. Too comfortable. Too clean. Too much not covered in SA grading. He opened his eyes to find Alindra beside him. Her glow was dimmer than usual. She was reading something on a data pad. She looked peaceful. "You are awake," she said. "The medical personnel said you would recover fully. Human physiology is remarkably resilient to dimensional stress." "What happened?" "Draven is in custody. The Council has seen his confession. The matching protocol is being formally reviewed." She paused. "Earth's membership application has been reinstated." Marcus processed this slowly. "So we won. We won." She took his hand. "Your plan worked." It was not really a plan. More of a desperate improvisation. That is essentially how humans conduct all their affairs, as far as I can tell. He laughed, then winced as his ribs reminded him dimensional travel was hard on the body. "There will be more challenges," Alindra warned. Draven had allies. The traditionalists will not abandon their goals because one commander fell. I know. And there is still our situation. The bond was manipulated, but not false. We are genuinely compatible, Marcus. He looked at her. This impossible woman from an impossible civilization who had somehow become his gravity. So what do we do? I believe we continue to choose each other, one day at a time, until the universe runs out of days. It was not a traditional proposal, but nothing about them had been traditional. Okay, Marcus said, but I am not reorganizing my bookshelf. We will discuss this when you recover. The system stays. Your entropy will be the death of me. Despite pain, uncertainty, and impossible odds ahead, Marcus found himself smiling. Sometimes the best stories did not go the way anyone expected. And sometimes that was exactly the point. 6 months had passed since Draven's fall, and the galaxy had changed in ways no one had predicted. The Galactic Council's Grand Chamber looked different now. The same crystalline platforms stretched across kilometers. The same artificial stars illuminated the proceedings. But the atmosphere had fundamentally shifted. For the first time in 900,000 years, humans sat among the delegations as full members. Ambassador David Cole occupied Earth's designated seat. His steady gaze commanded respect that had been earned, not demanded. Behind him, diplomats worked to navigate the complexities of galactic politics that still made their heads spin. In the viewing galleries, watching with a mixture of pride and disbelief, sat Marcus Webb. He no longer wore his usual teaching clothes. The council had dress codes requiring something more formal. His outfit was a compromise between human and Selenari fashion. Comfortable enough to breathe. Elegant enough not to embarrass his partner. Alindra sat beside him. Her luminescent form drew curious glances from other observers. In the months since the archive incident, she had become something unprecedented. A Selenari princess actively advocating for reforming her own empire's traditions. It had not made her popular with traditionalists, but it had made her a symbol of change across the galaxy. Today is the vote, she said quietly, watching as High Chancellor Voron took his position. Nervous? Selenari do not experience nervousness. That is a yes. Her lips curved. Perhaps a small amount of anticipatory concern. Below them, Voron raised his hands for silence. The chamber quieted. Thousands of species turned their attention to the dark energy figure who embodied council authority. We gather today to vote on Resolution 774, the fundamental reform of the matching protocol. A holographic display appeared, showing the resolution's text. Marcus had read it dozens of times, had helped write several clauses, but seeing it presented to the full council still felt unreal. The resolution was simple in principle, revolutionary in implication. All bonding arrangements would require informed consent from all participants. No individual could be placed on compatibility registries without explicit permission. No match could be formalized without both parties freely choosing to proceed. That choice would become the foundation of galactic partnership. Not algorithms, not protocols, not traditions treating sentient beings as commodities. Those in favor, Varan intoned. The voting took hours. 12,000 civilizations, each with their own complexities. But as tallies accumulated, a pattern emerged. The resolution was winning, not unanimously. Traditionalists held firm, but by an overwhelming majority. Species that had upheld the protocol for eons voted for reform. Young civilizations voted alongside ancient ones. For the first time in history, the right to choose one's own partner was being recognized as universal. When the final vote was cast, Varan stood silent for a long moment. The resolution passes. By 78% in favor. The chamber erupted. Cheers, objections, diplomatic statements. 12,000 voices trying to be heard at once, but Marcus barely noticed. He was looking at Alindra, seeing silver tears streaming down her luminescent cheeks. "We did it," she breathed. "You did it? Your testimony. Your courage. We did it together. That is what partnership means." 3 days later, they stood in a space that was neither human nor Selenari, but something entirely new. The location was Marcus's idea. The observation deck of an orbital station, looking out on both Earth and the stars beyond. A place of possibility, of boundaries dissolving, of futures yet to be written. Their families had gathered. Marcus's sister Emma openly cried, despite insisting she was just allergic to space dust. Elindra's parents stood nearby, their ancient presence somehow warm rather than imposing. There were other witnesses. Director Reyes, representing Earth. Captain Norin, who had stood beside them through impossible odds. Ambassador Cole, who had fought for humanity's place in the galaxy. Representatives from dozens of species who had found hope in their story. The ceremony was unlike anything before. No High Chancellor to preside. No algorithms to validate. No protocols to fulfill. Only Marcus and Alindra, speaking vows they had written themselves. "I choose you," Marcus said, his voice steady despite the magnitude. "Not because an algorithm told me to. Not because the universe declared us compatible. I choose you because of who you are, brilliant and stubborn and brave enough to question everything you were taught. I choose you because you make me want to be better than I ever thought possible. I choose you because in a galaxy full of wonders, you are the greatest wonder I have ever known." Elindra's eyes shimmered. "I choose you because you showed me the most important connections are ones we make ourselves. You taught me tradition is not wisdom. Power is not strength. The smallest voice can change the universe if it speaks truth. I choose you because you are infuriating and impossible and utterly, unexpectedly, exactly what I never knew I needed." They exchanged symbols of their bond. Not rings. Small devices allowing them to sense each other's presence across any distance. Technology as old as the Selenari civilization, repurposed for a relationship defying all precedent. When they kissed, the observation deck filled with light. Some from celebrations. Some from sources Marcus could not identify. It did not matter. The only thing that mattered was the person in his arms and the future they would build together. 1 year later, Marcus stood in a classroom very different from Way. His story began. The school was on an orbital platform, serving students from dozens of species. His current class included humans, young Selenari, a cluster of Galvari apprentices made of contained light and beings whose biology he still did not fully understand. They all watched him with the universal expression of students who were not sure why they needed to learn ancient history. "Today," Marcus said, "we are going to talk about the fall of empires." A Kelvari student flickered with curiosity. "Which empire, Professor Webb?" "All of them. Because here's the thing about empires. They all fall. Rome fell. The Selinari had 3 civil wars in their first 100,000 years. The Thornburn domain collapsed twice before reforming." Marcus walked between desks, making eye contact with each student, regardless of how many eyes they had. "The question is never whether an empire will fall. The question is what rises in its place." He pulled up a holographic display showing the Galactic Council. Not as it had been, as it was now, diverse, reforming, imperfect, but growing. Some people think history is about great leaders and massive armies. But the most important changes usually come from smaller places. From individuals who decide the way things have always been done is not the way things have to be done. He thought of Alindra, currently in the Selinari home system continuing her advocacy. He thought of Director Reyes, now Earth's permanent representative. He thought of beings across the galaxy who had heard their story and found courage to question their own traditions. "History is about choice," Marcus concluded. "Every day, every decision, every moment when someone decides to stand up and say this is not acceptable. That is what shapes the future. Not algorithms, not protocols, just people making choices." The bell rang. Students gathered their materials. Marcus was packing his own things when a familiar presence appeared at the classroom door. Alindra stood there, her glow drawing startled looks from departing students. She was smiling. "Good lecture. Though you left out the part where you accidentally started a galactic revolution because you did not want to stop grading papers. I prefer emphasizing the philosophical elements. Your version has significantly less cold pizza." He crossed the room to take her hands. "What are you doing here?" "I thought negotiations were all weak. They concluded early. Some traditionalists are beginning to accept change is inevitable." Her silver eyes sparkled. "Also, I missed you. The great Princess Alindra, admitting to missing her husband? You are a terrible influence. I know." They walked together through the station's corridors, past beings from 100 worlds going about daily lives. Some recognized them. The human teacher and Selinari princess had become minor celebrities. But most simply saw another couple moving through crowded spaces. "I received news today," Alindra said, as they reached the observation lounge. "The Council is establishing a new division to oversee consent-based bonding implementation. They want me to lead it." "That is incredible." "You said yes?" "I wanted to discuss it first. The position requires significant travel. We would be apart more often." Marcus looked out at the stars, the vast universe he had once ignored in favor of ancient history. Then he looked at his partner, his equal, his choice. "Remember what you said in the archive? About facing things together?" "I remember. Together does not always mean the same place. Sometimes it means the same goals, same values, same commitment to making each other better." He squeezed her hand. "Take the job. Change the galaxy. I will be here teaching kids about falling empires and waiting for you to come home." Alindra's smile was brighter than any star. "You are certain?" "I am certain about you. Everything else we figure out as we go." She leaned against him. Outside the viewport, the galaxy turned slowly, ancient and vast and full of possibilities. "I never thought I would say this," Alindra murmured, "but I am grateful you laughed at the idea of an alien wife." "Why?" "It made you different from everyone who accepted their fate without question. It made you someone worth choosing. She turned to face him, and it gave me the chance to choose you back. They stood watching the stars. Two improbable partners in an improbable universe. Sometimes the best stories were ones no one expected. And sometimes the greatest adventures began with a single word. No. From that word had grown something the galaxy had never seen before. A partnership built not on ancient protocols or sacred algorithms, but on something far more powerful, the simple human concept of choice. And across 12,000 civilizations, beings of every shape and form were beginning to understand why that mattered. Why one ordinary teacher refusing to accept his assigned fate had changed everything. Because freedom, it turned out, was not primitive at all. It was the most advanced idea in the universe.